G'day guys, welcome to the Stubborn Optimist. It's your host, if you will, Charles Chaz Terrier. I hope you're all doing well. I apologize for the, recent lapse in videos and material and everything. We've been experiencing somewhat of a second wave of the coronavirus pandemic down here in Melbourne, and so the restrictions have tightened, so we've all been doing our very best to stay safe and keep practicing social distancing, wearing masks, all that sort of stuff. But I missed you. I felt it was really important for me, based on some of the lessons that I've been learning in this sort of second pandemic and everything, and this second wave, to talk about ways to stay productive, stay sane, all these sorts of things. Obviously, I just sort of, gone back to work myself a little bit, doing a couple things here and there, a couple, creative projects, some other stuff. Being back in the world and everything for the better part of about 2 weeks. And then the second lockdown hit, which is what we're going through here in Melbourne. And that kind of was like, it was this, people say it was a step back, very necessary, and very glad it happened, step back to keep people safe. But it did mean a lot of adjusting. Now, for those of you that have gone through the lockdown and are out of it, great, really happy for you. And I hope everything stays safe for you. For those of you that are still in it or have gone back into it like me, this is what we're going to talk about today. What I have found, though, is staying not just creative, but staying, I guess you'd say, mentally engaged, mentally fit, productive, sane, happy during this time can be incredibly challenging. The reason why I say that is even just in these last few weeks, I've sort of found having an abundance of free time on my hands again has been a challenge to navigate. Whereas in our very typical sort of busy lives, we get very caught up on routine and we go, okay. And as much as that can tire us out, it can also help us be very efficient, because when we do have spare time, we become very good at utilizing that time, whether it be for rest, for play, for work, for creativity, productivity, etc. Suddenly having this spare time, if you will, 24 hours a day, if you don't have work to do, or you don't know what to do, or you just don't want to touch your work, which is fair enough in these times, I myself found that I was not falling into bad habits, but conscious that I very well could have. I sort of made myself go back to the drawing board, and I undertook some classes online, which have been fantastic and very eye-opening for me from an acting and a personal standpoint and personal perspective. Learning as well, doing different courses has been really fantastic for me. And exercise, which has been the hardest thing, recreating a routine by which I can maintain while I'm not in the gym and not out and about, in my own house and in my own backyard and everything. But again, I wanted to get back in the studio. I had spent a year and a half, even more now, we're in nearly August, which is hard to believe, but I'd spent, this amount of time thinking about, I want to share these ideals, these thoughts, these insights I've had, and to start down that path and then kind of have it all shut down again because of external factors was really kind of jarring and a bit demotivating. But I also realized that the limit that I had put on myself by accepting, COVID's happened, I can't do these videos and I can't do these podcasts, was actually more self-inflicted. And that's what I'm kind of trying to get at here when I'm saying, a lot of what the lockdown does is it makes us place limits on ourselves that might not actually exist. Yes, there's things like you can't go to the gym, you can't see your friends or family, you can't get out of town, travel, all this sort of stuff. But there's also things that we start doing like, I can't work out because I can't go to the gym. Well, you can work out at home, you can exercise at home. I can't do any learning or any work because I'm not in the office, or, even though I'm at home, I can't actually be as productive or do something better or learn a new skill or actually improve myself as a person if I don't have the ability to get out of the house and go and do these things like classes and everything. There is a real discipline to actually learning remotely and learning online. And this was something that in the course that I did recently, they were talking about learning in person. It uses up, in a group environment with other people around you, it uses up pretty much, most of, I think it's 80% or something of your brain power in that time. Doing that remotely on a platform like Zoom, Skype, etc., it actually uses, science has proven, double that. So neuroscience and behavioral economics has shown that it actually uses double that amount of energy, which is why it can feel incredibly hard to focus, because not only are you dealing with the screen, whether someone remotely, but you're in your own fixed environment. So you can distract yourself very easily if you're not fully tuned in with this. The way that I started to do that was I created a really good learning space for myself. If you have a studio, fantastic. If you don't, it's about carving out the time and the space that you can. So even if it's in your bedroom or in the living room or something, a way that you can get some peace and quiet, even if it's through noiseless headphones, if there is stuff going around you, and try and limit the amount of distractions in front of you, is a really good way to do. It's also coming down to things like, I started reading this book, which I highly recommend to everyone, called Limitless. It's by a guy called Jim Quick. And he's basically talking about the art of learning and how to learn. And he's teaching us how to learn and more efficiently. So things like, being able to take in, speed reading, being able to take in information quickly, being able to learn languages, pick up key skills, read rooms, all these sorts of things that we think you either have the ability to do or you don't, like, oh, I can't learn a language, it's too hard to do. It's not true. But we tell ourselves these things. And I guess why I really wanted to talk about that was because, like I said, I've been struggling with this myself, and reading this book, which I'm just starting, so in the coming weeks I'm going to go into it more and kind of share some of these insights and everything as well. But it reignited the sort of the drive and the motivation that I had, that I felt was waning in the last couple of weeks, and really put it back on myself to stay motivated, stay engaged, because before that, all I was doing was finding different ways to change my look. I think some of you might have seen I dyed my hair peroxide. Didn't go so well. I ended up looking gold. Did get a good Blade Runner reference out of it though. And then I dyed it dark brown, and then started turning auburn. So then I cut it really short, which is the reason for the beanie, because it's cold. And now it's sort of going back to its natural color. And I went, okay, so clearly I was bored, is what I've come to realize there. I was very bored, and I realized I need to get back on this platform. So one thing I want to talk about, guys, is it's a bit funny doing this again, just to the camera, just to you guys. Like, we're having a conversation, but it's only me. But, like I said, there's been a couple things lately with this second wave that I think a lot of us are kind of navigating again, how we deal with this, how we confront the reality of being back in a lockdown, or still in a lockdown, or this post-pandemic world, if you're lucky enough to be in a place where you're not too heavily affected or it's largely declined. But then again, you may be fearing that it will come back, and it very well could. One thing that I've found really, and I use this term, relatively, because to say one thing really good about this pandemic, and everyone's like, there's nothing good about this pandemic, people are dying. And that's very important. I want to stress that. But as a stubborn optimist, I'm looking to find positives in any situation which is inherently negative or could be deemed as such. One of those things has been, I've gotten to spend a lot more time with my family from coming back from overseas and being with them, and with my partner, getting to spend time with her. I've had time to actually, again, continue that work on myself more fastidiously and studiously, and religiously, basically. Yeah, it's become like a religion for me, in that I am trying to improve myself every day. And one of the issues that I was finding I was coming up against was getting to the end of my days being very exhausted, but not actually feeling like I'd done much. And I don't know if you can relate, but if you can, that feeling where you're like, I don't know why I'm tired. I haven't done anything. But in hindsight and looking back, I was realizing I was using a lot of my brain power, thinking, asking myself tough questions, working on myself, doing, mindfulness practices, asking the hard questions. And I think this is something we don't do a lot of, especially in times like this. We're given this opportunity, this blessing in disguise of being able to take stock of our lives and go, am I happy with the direction I'm going in? 1. 2, if I am, great, how can I better that? Or if I'm not, how can I change that? How can I pivot and make a change for the better? We don't really do this stuff because we're afraid, in our everyday lives, that to start again is to admit failure, is to go back and to lose and to admit that we've wasted time. And that is a very scary thing. But to start again is not to admit failure. And it's not to throw out all the work you've just done on something else. It is an opportunity to take the skills that you've been doing previously, and whether you go into a new field that these skills don't necessarily translate to, you're still bringing these skills with you. You're still finding a way from which you can grow this garden out of these skills and work them into it. This does not become, they're weeds, they're not useful anymore. This becomes the soil and the water and the garden food and everything you need to grow these flowers into what you want it to be. I find that, I have a good friend of mine who, after years of feeling quite directionless and everything, it took a global pandemic, in his own words, to go, I think I figured out what I really want to do. And it wasn't like, I figured out what I really want to do and then a couple of weeks later it had changed. He'd gone, I really want to help people, and I've always felt that way, but I never knew how to do it because I was living in a world where people were already getting a lot of the help they needed, so I didn't feel like there was a place for me. And now I realize that it doesn't matter if I have all the answers right now. What matters is as long as I'm helping myself and I'm helping the people around me and trying to help as many people as I can each day, I'm achieving my goal. I'm achieving my dream. And that very quickly led into him starting up a foundation, starting up a business that was going out there and taking care of people, because he kind of got on a roll, if you will, of inspiration and motivation because he started doing the thing he wanted to do. I've wanted to do this, motivational speaking, since I was like 12, I think, maybe even earlier, because I was someone in high school who, I had good times, sure, but in looking back at my own experience, regardless of how it may have looked, I had a lot of hard times. I didn't really enjoy my high schooling experience. I dealt with bullying. I had some great friends, but we didn't really have classes together as well. I had a great education, which was great, and I appreciate the teachers I had, but I very much felt alone a lot of the time, and that took its toll on my mental health. And, as a result, I was always left kind of wanting and wondering. And when I came out of high school, I was like, I don't really know who I am. I don't really know what I want to do. And I don't really know where I'm going. And, I've over time found my way into this field of acting and everything. But this, I've been wanting to do for years. And it's only the last, 3 months since a global pandemic hit that I went, right, well, I've got nothing else to do, so why not do this? So what is that thing that you've been wanting to do for so long and you just haven't let yourself do, or you feel like you come up with excuses for? And I'm not saying, you're making an excuse. I'm just saying, what is the thing that you go, maybe next week, or I'm not ready yet, or this or that, I also love singing. I don't do it nearly enough, but I'm conscious of that. So I'm making an effort to try and do more every single day. Doesn't matter if it sounds good. Probably doesn't sound good, but I'm doing more of it, Focusing on areas of enjoyment and areas of curiosity and interest is what's giving me meaning in this pandemic. It's what's giving me joy and drive to want to wake up in the morning, and sometimes to not be able to go to bed because I'm like, I just want it to be morning already, or I just want to do more before I go to sleep, or whatever it is. And it might seem like a very menial task, like, I can't wait to go down the store and buy that book, you know, so I have a new journal. But it's like, but if that feeds directly into the overall goal, which is you wanting to work more on, you know, stand-up comedy or yourself or, you know, whatever that interest is for you, if buying the book is a factor in helping you achieve that, then that is still an achievement. And that still gives you that sense of fulfillment that leads to here. This might be the overall goal. Remember, we spoke about in, I think it was week 1 or week 2 of the podcast, you know, identifying your mountain and climbing your mountain, you know, and you get to the top and you go, oh, this is great, but there's not much to do. It's the little points along the way. And when you're first starting out, you have to make those very menial tasks meaningful to you, so it keeps you motivated. Otherwise, you're going to go, oh, okay, this is the first step and I don't know how to get there. Just by making all these little steps, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, it helps you get to here. And then when you get there, you go, okay, cool, step 1's done, but so is point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to step 1. It's a bit convoluted, but, you know, I hope that helps. But anyway, guys, look, I'm back. I'm not going anywhere. None of us are going anywhere by the sounds of it. So I look forward to doing some more of these with you. I hope you're all keeping safe and sound. Once again, from your local Stubborn Optimist, I hope you're well. If you've got any questions, please, I don't know why, I suppose there's a button here, subscribe button's here, I hope, I don't know, hope. Give us a thumbs up if you like it. You know, shoot us an email if you've got any questions or any feedback, or I don't know, you just want to talk about stuff. I'm always happy to meet new people and talk about stuff. And if you've got any suggestions for content you want to see, we've also, you know, you can email us or hit us up on the Instagram at heyitsthestubbornoptimist@gmail.com or @thestubbornoptimist. And yeah, can't wait, guys. So till then, have a great day. Bye.